What's going on, fellas and ladies? Talk to me.
Start what happened on that final score for Iowa.
Yeah.
Breakdowns.
Yeah, it was. We had been actually we had that run probably like 9 or 10 times prior to that, and we stuffed it, and felt like we got good initial push early on, right? Front side, you know, we kind of got washed a little bit. We didn't have a chance to bucket step on the backside. Clayton overran it, right? It hit downhill pretty fast, came up on him in a heartbeat, you know, and Mac, right, he saw it pop late and try to get it down, man. And we kind of knew going into that game the margin for error was really small. You know, we spoke about it all week, especially to our guys, like we knew it was going to be a relatively close game, and the margin for error in practice, right, leading up into that was it can't be none, you know, and that was going to ultimately decide the game. Didn't know that particular play would, but obviously it put us in a position to where we end up losing the game, right? And just try to continue to preach to our guys, right? Every play is important, man. Every single play, whether it's the first snap of the game or the 58th snap of the game, right? Like those kind of situations, they literally alter the game, and that's what you guys saw happen, man. We had enough guys in our fit, right? We overran it. Probably could have got a little better push on the backside, right? But we had fit that run up several times prior to that, and you know, it was a couple of negative yard gains. It was a couple of 0-yard gains. So it obviously sucks that it popped, you know, because we hadn't. I think prior to that, they were under 100 yards rushing, and they obviously put them over and ultimately gave them the score to go ahead and take the lead.
Aaron, obviously you've had injuries in the secondary, but some veterans you've counted on seen come out of the game for some younger guys.
Yeah.
What's led to some inconsistency for the veterans?
Yeah, I think part of it, man, is I mean, although some of those guys are veterans, right? A lot of the guys on our sec, they just lack the experience, you know, and so because they lack the experience, you know, I put, especially some of those guys in the safety room, I just put them on a rotation, because I felt like some of our younger guys they were doing really good in practice. They had been doing really good up until that, and it's like, you know, we live in this business is based on results at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? And put ego aside, like I want to give whoever gives us the best chance to win the opportunity. And so it's obviously a constant process. Don't want nobody, especially in the secondary, to get comfortable thinking it's their position because they've started in it or played in it, you know, consistently over the course of the last 10 games. But, you know, maybe somebody else gives us a spark. And so just always trying to shuffle what we got going, especially on the back end. Obviously, we had some guys go down, so we had to move some pieces around. But, you know, like at the end of the day, man, it's about, can you do your job and can you execute your job? And if you can't do it, at a high level, you know, we have to shake things up a little bit. And that's no slight to you or where you're at. It's more so like what's going to help us win, right? We have a mantra in our building, like put the team first, right? And putting the team first may mean that maybe you take the first handful of snaps and you're on a rotation now. Maybe it means that you're coming off the bench, right? And every week, right, because of our extremely young secondary, every week it's a tad bit different. So, you know, I'm basing a lot of that off what I see in practice, and if guys have good weeks of practice, which I think for the most part has occurred. If it's a younger guy, then that's what it is, and if it's not, then we'll kind of keep going with that same rotation. But at the end of the day, it's about results. And if I think a guy is struggling to get it done, right, I don't want to put him in jeopardy to where he can't have success. And so if that's a conversation on the sideline or a conversation after the game, I know this, I can't wait till the game is over, right, to decide, okay, well, this is what we're going to do, when I could have made an adjustment within the game, and especially if I felt like it was going to give us a chance to win.
Is there a common denominator with the pass interference, like a technique thing or approach thing, or?
It's a couple of things, right? It's one, I think it's based on that ref's discretion, right? Two, obviously we're teaching our guys to get their head around. Like that's been a big point of emphasis, to get their head around, make sure they're looking for the ball. And you know, like I think anytime you're competing for the football, they're going to be guys who run into each other. You can't be egregious with it when you're grabbing and holding, right? Like that's been a point of emphasis that I've made with Taz on several occasions, you know. But if you are looking, I try to talk to the refs about this every game. If you are I'm constantly telling the ref, like, our guys are going to look back for the ball. Like, we're teaching them once they're in phase to look back for the ball, right? So because they have the right of way to the ball as well. And so we just got to continue to do a better job at it. We got to continue to preach it. We got to continue to work it. Obviously, some of those calls haven't went our way, and it does suck, right? Absolutely. But I think with the way the game kind of transpired, those calls based on when they're made could ultimately affect you. We had a touchdown early on, right, where Taz got a PI on that extended the drive. That was third and 4, gave him a first down. Ultimately, end up going and scoring. But that's obviously we got to be better as coaches. We got to continue to put that into our players, and it sucks, right? But I can promise you, we're teaching our guys constantly when you're in phase with a guy, whether it's zone coverage or man coverage, right? Get your head around, because if you don't, you leave it at the ref's discretion, right? You 9 times out of 10 you're going to get a penalty if you never get your head around. And so it just sucks sometimes to see other teams not do it and they get the break. You know what I'm saying? And so that's something that we got to continue to coach through and get our guys better in that facet.
Aaron, to dovetail what you were talking about with your secondary, especially your safety, how do you go about coaching up a Clayton Bush this week where he comes out to us and says, I whiffed. They got a 30-yard touchdown because I whiffed and it's my fault. How do you coach that kid up?
No, I mean Clayton. What I love about Clayton is extremely accountable, man. He was obviously crushed after that, and I think when you have players like that, like that's what you want. You want them to take accountability. You want them to own up. You know what I'm saying? And that's this ain't Clayton's first football game. You know what I'm saying? Like, tackles are gonna be missed, right? We had other opportunities to get the ball down, right? That's why I think it's the ultimate team sport, right? Although he missed it, right? We still had other opportunities to get that ball down. You know what I'm saying? And so I think you coach that up by doing what you've been doing. Me and that young man have a great relationship, and so I'm not overly concerned about his confidence, because I think he's a pretty confident kid. But it's unfortunate that one play was magnified in the moment that we were in, right? There were several opportunities prior to that. I think we dropped like four interceptions, right, where the ball literally hit our hands, right? And I know that kind of gets glossed over, but in hindsight, right, if you get one of those, right, if you get one of them, you talk about an extra possession, maybe you got an opportunity to score. There was one interception that went right through our hands. It could have been a pick six, right? And that kind of gets glossed over because it was ended up being a catch, and we get off the field on that drive. But like every single play matters. It just so happens that situation, Clayton was in it. It was a crucial part of time during the game. Obviously, it's magnified, but yes, Clayton did miss that tackle, but we could have been better in so many different areas, right, in regards to that play, right? Front side, on the back side, he ended up missing it, and the kid is extremely accountable. He takes complete ownership in that, right? And as his coach, I take complete ownership in it. And so we got to be better, right? Because we got to go out and get this one. Obviously, we're playing a really good football team, and you hope that not just Clayton, but the guys behind him, the younger guys, can learn from his experience, right? Xavier had one last year versus Purdue in 2-man. He was crushed. It was a completion for a first down on third down, right? He lost leverage of a guy, and it was a defining moment for him, which I think he learned from. And so you hope that the guys who are behind him and around him can learn from those situations and be better in the future.
What works well about Northwestern's offense?
I think one thing I will say, I think they're playing very inspired football, man. I mean, everybody kind of knows what went on in the off season, and I think that they're just rallying behind their football coach, and they're playing together. They're playing fast. They're playing physical, right? They do some things on offense that have created a lot of explosive plays for them. They move a lot of pieces. They bring guys in, certain personnel groupings, and so I think what makes them really unique is that they have the ability to run the ball extremely well, and they have the ability to throw the ball down the field. They're a pretty balanced attack, and I think all of it's controlled by their quarterback. They have a couple of them who they utilize in different packages, and so I think anytime you're playing a team like that, it's going to be imperative, right? One, right, obviously we stop the run, and two, we take the ball away. It's no secret that I think teams are gonna. I've been saying this the last couple. I think teams are gonna naturally try to throw the ball against us. Right? Who wouldn't when you got some really dominant dudes up front, right? And so we have to obviously be good on the back end, have a good plan in place for the back end, and put our guys in position to be successful, and not just take the ball away, but not get penalties as well, you know.
And obviously, when you bring JUCO guys like Caleb Patterson, Prince Ford, you want them to make an immediate impact. What's their progress this fall?
Yeah, well, you know, like for young men like that, right? Everybody's process is completely different. You know, I think anytime you bring a young man from a junior college, your goal and intent is for him to come in and play, right? But there may be some strength things that he has to work on in the weight room. There may be some things that he has to get over in terms of learning and processing the system and processing the new life of being on the campus and Division I football. And so I can tell you this as coaches, man, we never try to put players in position where they're going to fail, you know. And I know you guys had a chance to see Caleb Patterson out there this past weekend. That was just because of a buildup of, you know, he was on a look team. He had done some really good things on the look team, you know, and we felt like, you know, from what we saw on the look team, like, okay, we think this guy can give us a chance, especially with Toby. Toby ended up getting banged up on a particular play, and we felt like he was Caleb was a viable option, and so we put him in that position. Thought he handled it well. Obviously, he had the holding penalty late in the game off a double move, but just the way he's kind of handled it and battled, and I think what's to come in his future is going to be really, really bright. But you know, when guys do make the transition from high school or junior college level, you know, our goal is to make sure that they're ready. They're prime ready to be in a position to have success here at this level, because, you know, if they come here and they don't have success initially, I think it can hinder a kid a couple of years down the road, especially if they're not either weight room ready, physically ready, or mentally ready. And so there's still a process, especially with Prince Ford, that we're still kind of working through, and he's going to be fine. He got to get in that weight room, get a little bigger, get a little stronger, so he can help himself and more so help the team.
From week 1 to now, your first year in this role, how have you grown, and how do you evaluate what you've been able to do?
I think I've grown tremendously, right? You know, obviously, when you're a first-time coordinator, I think some things you just have to learn by experience, right? Ultimately, like the decisions that you make and how your side of the ball performs, it falls on you, right? And you take a more so of a bigger approach in terms of not just worrying about your position, but worrying about the group of people that are in the room on top of the whole defense. And so I think my mindset is, you know, obviously being a back end guy, my mindset has shifted a lot, just seeing what those guys are doing up front and how can I put them in a position to where we don't have to cover as long, right? To where we don't have to be in coverage as long, if we can come up with a really good plan up front to allow those guys to just rush the passer, you know, and where they don't have to think and they can get after the quarterback. You know, obviously we mix up our coverages, but if you got some guys up front that can kind of take that off of you, you need to give them as much as you can to allow them to just go. And even if you are extremely young in the secondary, right, it's a little pressure putting on those guys, and you just got to continue to kind of mix that up. And everybody has a hard down, right, and it's just really moving the stress around so that other teams really can't find it. And it's a chess match, right? It's a chess match. It's no one great call all the time, obviously, because everybody will run it. But it's just being able to understand the situations, know them. I think the biggest thing for me is the biggest thing I've learned is probably the situational football, right? You can play really good football throughout the course of the game, but those very particular and specific situations can literally alter a game, right? And making sure our young men are ready for them. And it's a growing experience. It's going to continue to be a growing experience as long as I'm in this position, man. And I think I've obviously gotten better the longer I'm in it. I think naturally you do, but I think the goal at the end of the day for me is try to eliminate points, man. Like, no matter what the yardage total is, let's take points off the board. Let's eliminate points, and let's try to ultimately hold teams to 0 points, you know. And so, and I think that just comes with putting our guys in the right position to be successful.
Aaron, to that time for one more here, to that point, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe Newton left the field at all on
Yep.
Saturday. Have you gotten to a point where you're just like, look, Ford's going to be out there, and he's played more snaps than anybody in his position in the country?
Yeah, I think that's twofold, right? Yes, we think we're a better team with Johnny Newton out there. The other thing is Johnny don't want to come off the field. Johnny does not. Johnny's different, right? Johnny's different, right? And if we felt like, you know, it was gonna affect him, it was going to affect us as a defense, right, we would obviously bring him off. And I know we did last game a couple times. He had a chance to get a break, but that cat don't want to come on. He's just wired different, man. Like I said, we did a study last year. The longer he plays, the stronger he gets. You know, he's actually been more productive, you know, the more snaps he's taken, which is insane, right? But we know we're a better defense when he's out there. I think he knows that, and he don't want to come off the field. And so if there was ever any drop in his production or any drop in us defensively, obviously we would pull him off and get him a break. And Coach J-Mo does a really, really good job in monitoring his guys and monitoring him specifically. But I think at this point in time during the season, right, we got to do what we got to do to try to go out there and win.
You're finding that like on play 50, he's even better than he is on play 50.
Yeah, and he is, man. He is. I mean, in terms of his pass rush, for sure, you know, he's still strong at the point of attack. You know, he may occasionally, you know what I'm saying, do something that he isn't supposed to do, but that can happen on the second play of the game. You know, whether he plays back on a routine down block or later in the game, but he'll do that every now and then early in the game. Obviously, we don't want it, you know, and that's been a point of emphasis for all our guys up front. But that cat is special, talented wise, and you know, as long as he's here and as long as he feels good to go, we're gonna try to keep him out there. Obviously, if he felt like he was tired, you know, Coach J-Mo has a good sub rotation where guys can come in and supplement where he is and how he's playing.